So today we are going to be talking about oil prices. We're going to be talking about shocks to our economy, what's going on with this war with Iran, specifically the United States of America. What could this look like down the road? And if you have any questions around this topic, maybe there's something that you've watched in the news lately. We are going to be talking about that on the show today. And I thought, you know what, maybe every once in a while, like midweek, like on a Wednesday, I would talk strictly about the news and what's going on. And let's see if we can kind of figure this thing out according to end times with an end times lens. And it's going to be a little bit different than my shows on Wednesday, where you have a huge list of panelists talking about the end times. And it's going to be different from some of my other biblical studies where I just go through the Bible verse by verse, or I do a commentary on a book of the Bible and that kind of stuff. So I felt that this would be appropriate to do this midweek because it's Wednesday. So welcome to Black Swan Revelations.
You don't see it coming? What you go is safe. What you go is known. One silent shift shatters what you know. Black Swan. You won't see it coming. Black Swan. The shift is already moving. This is Black Swan Revelations.
All right. Let's get Black Swanny here. Let's go Black Swanny. I like that. I like that saying. We got to refine it a little bit, but I like the idea of going Black Swanny on my audience. So what does that mean? That means I'm going to share my insights. I'm going to share my thoughts because I live in one of the biggest oil provinces in the world. You can almost say we're like a little mini country when it comes to oil. And I don't know if many people realize this in my audience or in the United States of America, that Canada actually supplies about 55 to 60% of the oil that you need. Whereas other countries like Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Venezuela, all these other tiny countries only supply like maybe 10, 20% of your oil that you actually need, that you actually use for your trucking industry, for your military might. Like, you think those planes operate on electricity? You think you charge up your next generation fighters on electricity? You think that all these aircrafts are used just by electricity, light oil, all this kind of stuff? No. Like, America is heavily dependent on heavy oil. And maybe people don't realize that, because I think Alberta gets a bit of people just overlook Alberta and go, well, they have dirty oil. They have tar sands. I've heard Leonardo DiCaprio, whom I met one time on the set of Inception, and I got to meet my favorite director, Christopher Nolan. But Leonardo left a sour taste for Canadians because I guess he jumped in a helicopter, went around our oil sands in Fort McMurray, which is where I grew up, and basically dissed. As he's in a helicopter that uses diesel fuel, he's dissing the oil sands, saying it's dirty oil and all this kind of stuff. That didn't help us at all. And I think James Cameron did the same thing, other directors. And yet they're the ones that fly on all these jets. They're the first ones in line with all their Humvee vehicles and all this kind of stuff. And they're okay with traveling on planes all over the world to their little islands and all kinds of stuff. And Alberta gets a bad look. It's like, oh, we don't need you guys. Meanwhile, the way our infrastructure is set up, you're already getting oil from us all across the nation of the United States of America. And yet we're worried about the Strait of Hormuz. And we're like, oh man, this is going to choke all our energy prices and all this kind of stuff. I get it. I do. I understand. But we have right now, with what we have available, we have at least 140 to 170 years right now that we can access in Alberta to help our American friends. And arguably, we have almost a millennia of oil that's underneath that we have to process. Yes, but your refineries are all designed for heavy oil, which is what we have. They're not designed for the light crude and all that kind of stuff. And if you had to retrofit all your refineries, you can do it. It'd be too expensive. So I just wanted to just read some of my talking points from some of the news networks, if you will, some of what people are talking about out there. If you follow the news at all, you understand that we're going to be hitting a bit of an oil crunch. Some of it feels manufactured, if I'm being honest. Some of it does not. So here's a little talking points. Oil markets are on the edge as the Middle East tensions raise fears around the Strait of Hormuz, a key global checkpoint. Energy analysts warn that any disruption to global supply could trigger price spikes worldwide. And it's like they're pre-programming us to say that because of this war, you're going to have to get comfortable with the idea of $10 a gallon of gas, $15, $20, whatever it is. You guys just have to kind of suck it up in America. In Canada, I think, well, in Alberta anyway, in Cochrane, where I live, it's in liters. So we're at about 170, give or take a bit. I know in BC it's higher. I think it's over $2. Depending where you travel across Canada, it's ridiculously high. And I remember when I used to live in Minnesota, I remember the sign because I thought it was kind of weird because our gas was like at 30 something. This dates me a bit. This was back in the 90s. Our gas was about 40 cents on average a liter. And you guys were at about $1.17. I remember that because there were times where you actually went under $1. And I'm like, wow, that's expensive or whatever it is. And people are like, no, that's in gallons. I'm like, oh, it's not liters, it's gallons. So you have to do the math all the time. At the same time, demand isn't slowing. New industries, and we're going to talk about this in this show, like AI, are pushing energy needs even higher. You have these AI data centers that are being built. What do you think they're being built with? Electric machinery, like all these gravel trucks that have to remove the dirt, cement trucks. Those are not operated on electricity. Most likely they're operating from diesel. You fill them up with diesel. So you need machinery to build these huge data centers. These are not just tiny data centers. They're huge. And what do you need with these data centers? For some strange reason, you need fresh water. They haven't quite figured that out yet to be able to recycle it. You'll get rumors that say, oh, we just recycle our oil, our water and all this. We can keep using it. Not true. Not today. So right now they need a supply of fresh water to cool some of these computers, some of these computer chips, all their hardware and all the stuff. They need data centers to be cooled. And yet they have the nerve to tell you, hey, I understand that you want to water your lawn, but you need to cut it down to like 10 or 15 minutes because there's a water shortage. Or they have the nerve to tell you that you can't take a shower because we're worried about our water supply. Well, you didn't think about that when you're building your data centers. You never polled the audience. You never polled the city and said, hey, if we use up all of your fresh water over the period of the next 10, 20 years so that you have no fresh water, are you okay with this? Just so we can build robots down the road that actually eventually take over the world. Are you okay with that? Most people would say, no, you're insane. But they don't tell you. Instead, they just buy all the land and they start building. And these centers are massive. Takes minutes at 60 miles an hour to get past one of these centers. I've seen one in Phoenix, and they're all over the place. And they're only going to get bigger, and they're only going to consume more electricity and more water, because you don't get it back. Sorry, you don't get it back. It's not easy to regenerate water from nothing. It's actually impossible. We didn't even talk about coal. America is dependent, like less than half. So let's say about 46% of the United States of America is still reliant on coal. That's kind of interesting. I know China's heavy into coal as well. And I know you guys use nuclear energy as well, especially in the Northwest. We use it as well in Ontario. We use our dams, all this kind of stuff. So I find it interesting that we don't like to talk about numbers or crunch numbers. And we don't like to talk about the idea that we actually have partnerships already, like Canada. Again, we supply a lot of your oil that you guys need from Canada to the US. We have pipelines. We got, I want to say, thousands of miles of pipelines that are going from Canada to the US. Because you guys have needs. You have needs. What else can we talk about here? So the AI data center is not going away. It's not going away. So some of these facilities use as much electricity as a small city. That's fascinating to me, and I got that from this book here. This book is a fantastic read. If you want to talk about AI, or if you want to know anything about AI and the consequences of AI, look at the title. It says Dreams and Nightmares in Sam Altman's Open AI. So she goes heavy against Sam Altman. And I don't blame her, because when Open AI was operating in other countries around the world, specifically Africa, they wouldn't tell these people what they were up to necessarily. Instead, they would say, hey, would you like a job? Would you like full-time employment? And many of these people are like, yeah, sure, that kind of makes sense to me. Okay, here's your job. You have an office. You have a little cubicle. And we're going to pay you like, I don't know. I'll just make up a number because I don't know what the number is, but it's pretty low. It's like $2 an hour, $3 an hour, something like that. It's not like $50 an hour American, nothing like that. It's just a few dollars an hour. And their job was to teach AI about objects. It's like an object lesson for AI. So basically, in order to teach AI what is good, like if you see an image like this here, that's safe. It's a video of me, a male, gray hair, 56 years old. This is pretty safe. How? How does AI know that this is a safe video? Well, it's because somebody has to show a video of a white male on a podcast like this so that it can have a reference point and go, okay, I've seen this type of video before, so I know that's good. I know that's good. That's okay because YouTube allows it for all the social media platforms. This is considered normal. So then, in order to teach AI what is good, and maybe this goes all the way back to the knowledge of the tree, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Maybe this goes all the way back. Maybe this is why God was warning Adam and Eve not to eat from the tree that's in the midst of the garden, from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Maybe this is why. Because in order to teach AI what is good, you have to show it what is bad, what is the equivalent of evil. So if you want it to understand all the rules of the land, you have to show it the deepest, darkest pits of hell. What do I mean? You have to show, and remember, we're talking about a job in Africa where people are excited to get a job from OpenAI, from Google, from all their various platforms, AI platforms. They all do the same thing. You have to go through this process. So in order to teach it good, you got to teach it evil. So what do you have to do to teach it evil? You got to show it heinous pictures of hell itself. You got to show bestiality, people having sex with animals. You have to show that to AI so it can learn, put it into its learning center. You have to show it pictures of homosexuality, of two women together, two men together, group sex, all kinds of hideous stuff. You have to show child sacrifice. You have to show all these pictures. And not only pictures, you have to show videos. And who approves them? Well, it's these people that are being employed by OpenAI in another country. So imagine you're a newly married man, husband, and you're like, I get to provide for my family, and you open up the folder, and for 8 hours a day, you are consumed with porn, the most snuff porn, where people kill each other, beheadings, tortures, children being tortured to death in front of you, watching this footage in order to teach AI, hey, this is bad, this is really bad, and oh, I thought that was bad, but this is worse. This is really bad. So what would happen after a few months of watching all this footage, 8 hours a day, 8 hours a day of watching porn and all kinds of stuff, snuff films, everything to teach AI what's bad, these people would commit suicide after or divorce their family. Why? Because when they would go home, they would be a vegetable. And their wife's like, hey, how come you don't talk to me anymore about work? What happened today? And the guy's like a zombie. It's like, I just want to watch TV. I just want to zone out. I feel like unlifing myself. And this is what was happening just a few years ago. So before you get all excited on AI and say, this is awesome, think about all the people that died, heinous deaths, suicide, all kinds of stuff, because they couldn't handle teaching AI what was wrong. They couldn't handle it. And that's how AI learns. In order for it to learn what's good, it has to know what is bad. It has to know, in order to know what's fake, it has to know what's real. And the only way to teach it is to show it images that it would be able to recognize pictures and videos and all kinds of stuff. Because you would start off with something like a basketball. What is this? Is this a rectangle or is this a sphere or a circle? It's like rectangle, wrong. And then it learns, oh, okay, squares are wrong or bad. Circle is good in this picture. This is a circle. And you'd start like that. And then the next evolution, the next version of that software would get better because it already has all that stuff stored. And where do you have to store it? In the cloud? No. Data centers. That's where they get stored. They have to get stored there. And they have to be able to access them whenever you have an update. It has to be able to go, oh, this is good, this is bad in an instant. And it's getting faster and faster at knowing what is good versus what is evil. But it's at the consequence of people teaching AI, no, that's bad. 6 fingers on a hand is bad. I know you like to gravitate towards that because most likely you're some entity before the flood. You have some kind of demonic tendencies. How else can you explain why it's always 6 fingers at the beginning when it was just learning the difference between humans and other animals? And it would start off by giving people 6 fingers. Not 4, not 3, not 2. It would give it 6. And people are like, oh, that's weird. 6 fingers. Why is there 6 fingers in this picture? Well, it's because there's a demonic influence behind it. And again, I'm not saying that like using AI to help you find Burger King or something like that isn't evil in itself. It's just that once you understand the backbone of how this stuff is created, that should give you shivers. How you doing, brother? How's it going? What prompted you to be on my show today?
I heard you talking about AI, and yeah,
your ears started turning red.
They started turning red. Yes, my friend.
How are you doing?
So I'm doing well. I'm doing well, and just another day here in Canada.
Yes, I know. Another day. We survived another day. So how's it going? And is there anything intriguing you maybe that I need correction on or something about what I'm talking about with AI, or am I kind of like making sense?
One of my friends actually has a book out right now. It's on AI burnout. So I'm just going to pull it up in a second, but it's interesting how I work in AI all day. And when you step away from it for a few days, you can actually feel the brain cloud, the brain fog sort of go away, because you're actually engaging at a cerebral level that I don't know if we're supposed to engage at that level. Like, because we're not just thinking, we're thinking about how to manage another person's brain. So
yes.
When you're engaging at that level, I think I'm kind of wondering if we're engaging at a level that we're not supposed to be engaging at for long periods of time. Is the body designed for hard labor? And were we supposed to be engaging at this high level of thinking all day? Is that good for us? I don't know.
That's
what do you think?
Very good question. I was starting to tap into the Garden of Eden a little bit, because I talked about the origins of AI, like how at the beginning, specifically with OpenAI, in order to teach AI to AI, like, hey, in order for you to start learning, you have to teach it objects. For example, like you'd show it, hey, what is this round spherical thing? It's a square. That's wrong. Oh, okay, I'm learning. Okay, what is it? It's a circle. It's a sphere. It's a basketball. Okay, got it. Locked into my memory. So you show it a rectangle or you show it a book, and it's like, is this a circle? No, it is not. Okay, what is it? Don't know. It's a book. And you start going through the process, and it just learns and learns and learns. With the Garden of Eden, you need or not need, but you had the tree of life, and you had the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and God said stay away from that. And I think this is perhaps what we're entering into now, is that arena of, we have knowledge, and in order to have complete knowledge, you can't just say it's good enough to have good things, like good knowledge, because you don't understand the good stuff unless you understand the evil stuff. And I think what God was saying is, I'm going to show you the good, and you don't need the bad. You don't need it. But with AI, in order to make sense of the world, you have to show it the deepest, darkest pits of hell in order for it to understand what good is. So when people in Africa, like say, for example, in the country of Congo, they would hire these people. Google did it as well. And they would say, look, I need you to be trained 8 hours a day, and we're going to just show you photos. And all you do is thumbs up, thumbs down. That's it. So they would show them porn and say, here's an orgy. Here's 2 women. Here's 2 men. Here's bestiality. Here's snuff films. Here's people killing children, murdering children, because they have access to all this footage. And they're showing it to these people that have never seen anything like this in their life. And these men would unlife themselves after a few months of service. They would unlife themselves because they can't go home. They're like, I have so much shame and guilt in me that I've seen too much evil. I can't process it. Like you said, how do you turn it off once you gain that knowledge of what is actually evil in the world? How do you turn it off? We've done it accidentally, where you watch 9/11. And I remember watching videos of people jumping off the buildings. And I'm like, oh, I didn't see them land, but I could see the bodies coming down off the building. And I'm like, oh, I wish I never watched that.
You knew it was happening. Let me bring it closer to home. Just recently, and I can't mention what it's called because there's laws now in Canada against this, but if you were going to help someone unlife themselves, there's an acronym for that in Canada now.
We won't call it MAID. We'll call it CAID.
Minute Maid. Minute Maid.
We'll call it orange juice.
Orange juice, OJ. So, so imagine that you knew the exact time and hour of someone who you loved, that their orange juice appointment was about to come up, right?
Yeah.
So, and you know that they're not a believer, and you know that, let's say at 5:00, 4:59, you're like, this person has 1 minute left in the most paradise they've ever experienced, even though Earth is not paradise. They're about to slip into eternity in hell in 1 minute.
Wow.
Is that normal? First of all, for that person, imagine the terror and fear inside of them in the last minute, knowing that I have 1 minute left before the orange juice gets added to me.
Yeah. And
then imagine those around that person, the trauma and shock of knowing the exact time. You know, we, as rapture believers, or what we just call Christians, we believe that nobody knows the day or the hour. But it's interesting when imagine being one of those people who know that's coming up. You do know the day or the hour. You know the exact minute, the exact second that person exits what we call paradise, which is good enough, what we have now, into eternity in separation from God. Or if they're a believer, you know, why would a believer take orange juice? That's the other thing. So pretty much you're only going in one direction, unless, and that's another topic. You know, what does the Bible say about taking your orange juice? So, but that's just one sort of thought. Like what you've talked about with those people in those other countries who are exposed to these traumatic things, and they can't deal with it anymore. and it's like, at what point do you shut down? So I know I just brought a new topic into this topic
Yeah,
today,
no, it's
but
good. It's all good because that's how our brain works. Like if I tell you, don't think of a pink elephant, right? I've now affected your mind by the word that I said, and you didn't have any choice behind it. You're
I
already
was actually
thinking
just
of a
thinking of the
pink
blue
elephant.
elephant from Star Wars. I was thinking the
Wow.
blue elephant from Star Wars in the bar. You know the
Maybe that's
one?
something different. Yeah, yeah, I do remember that. That was like the worst scene in Tatooine or whatever, Jabba the Hutt. I can't believe they had
Why?
an extended version of that, which was horrible, like a whole song.
A whole song.
Anyways,
But
yeah,
coming back to the pink elephant, once you suggested it, you can't get it out of your head. Unless you're thinking
yes.
about the blue elephant. Now you're thinking of the blue
Yeah,
elephant.
you can counter, but now you're elephants. But my point is, in order to do that, you have to purposely try and switch to not think about it, and it's hard. So it again, this is why I tell people, man, rewire your brain by reading this. And there's now scientific evidence. This is my 1611 facsimile, King James Bible. I have my other one, but it's upstairs, I think. Oh, I have this one too. Exact same wording. It's just the spelling might be a little bit different, but basically 400 plus years, it's exactly the same. So there's scientific data right now that says that you can actually rewire your brain by reading. You can rewire it. You can create neural pathways that get stronger and stronger and stronger the more you meditate on God's word. Moses tells Joshua this, meditate on it morning, evening, throughout the day, like 3 times a day, whatever. Like you're constantly meditating on the word. Why? Because he needed to build some neural pathways because he was about to face giants. He was about to destroy nations in Canaan that were worshiping the most heinous God's liturgy on the planet. And in order to prepare for that, you have to meditate on his word daily so that that doesn't sway you to all of a sudden you're like, I'm kind of curious now. How does that God work? And can my family benefit if we worship that God? What do I have to do? Oh, I have to sacrifice one of my children to Molech? Oh, okay. So he had to prepare for that. Studying what's good. It's almost like a bank. They don't study counterfeit bills if they ever see one today. Back then, they studied the good stuff. Why? So they can know what the bad is. That's not how AI operates. They have to see good and bad and then compute what's going on. But for us, the more you see the good, the better it is for your mind because you'll notice evil right away. It's interesting, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what I was also thinking about is if you look at what AI, if first of all, if we're coming to it and thinking that AI is the Antichrist, I think that that's a big stretch. It's not there yet. We're not there yet. It's still being programmed. There's information still going into it. So right now it's at the stage where it's learning and it's being trained, and it is not an it yet. It's code. So we shouldn't call it a him or a shim or whatever it is. It's still code being developed by the algorithm. So and it gets trained by what goes in. So
Right.
what does it have access to? The internet. What's on the internet? Like if you look and do the percentages, like it's not just cats. Most of it's cats, but there's other things on there too. So
Yeah.
it's being trained by that. And the only reason why it has to be trained against good and evil, and you might have said this earlier, if you did, forgive me for reinterpreting it, but if you only have good, you don't need to have these focus groups in Africa where people are dealing with their life at the end. But if you have good and evil, now you have to deal with that, and you have to differentiate between one and the other. And wow, did you talk about the trauma that Adam and Eve might have been underneath through that? What kind of
No,
trauma they
I
experienced from being
I
accessing
haven't.
that good and evil?
Yeah, I haven't yet, but that's an interesting thing to talk about because we don't like suddenly they realized they were naked, like suddenly. So you can't turn that off anymore. Like all of a sudden you're in fear because you also now are aware of what's evil out there, that you can be killed, that your life is over, that God maybe meant what he said and said what he meant and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, oh my goodness, Eve, what did we just do? And you have all this, like their brains are probably operating at, I would say 100%, where people say we're at like 18% of our total brain capacity today. But imagine being at 100 and you know right from wrong instantly. And you're like, oh man, I am done. I'm done. I'm cooked. What do we do?
There's one word in there that was interesting: fear. All of these things they had were fear. And, when you think about the Bible, it's wisdom. And where is the beginning of wisdom? The fear of
Fear
God.
of God. Yep.
So the tree of knowledge of good
Interesting.
and evil, it actually introduced the idea that there's something other than God. So that's kind of the interesting part, is that now they had fear that their life might end.
Yes.
But before that, here's another question. Was there the fear of the Lord before sin? I don't know. Why would you
That's a
need to
good
fear
question.
anything? But
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, we don't have any hints.
Yeah,
We don't have any hints of them hiding or anything like that until
No.
after, which is interesting. Something
But
happened.
if the beginning of wisdom is the fear
Yep.
of the Lord, and if wisdom
Yeah.
was with God in the beginning, then yes, there was fear. Then there would have to be fear of the
Yeah.
Lord. So
And
I'm trying to
there's
think like
different. Yeah.
what he would say.
Yeah. And there's different, like Jesus. Well, God, I actually just read this in Deuteronomy. I want to say it's 29 or chapter 30, where God was talking about what's going to happen later on to the Israelites and all this kind of stuff. And it's almost like he went into the future, saw the ending, and then came back and said to Moses, you know what? These are a stiff-necked people. Like every time I punish them, they get stronger and stronger at their neck. Like they can't turn left or right. They just go hellbore right into the fire, basically. And he said, I fear that the Gentiles are going to get all excited at the idea that Israel becomes extinct, which is interesting. So it's not a fear as in, I'm scared of this outcome. It's like they will lose their minds over the idea that they won and God didn't, because Israel's no longer anymore. They're extinct. So he saw that and went, I'm not going to allow that to happen. No matter how wicked they are, there's always going to be a remnant of Israel, because I don't want them to get excited, because I promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that they're always going to be around. So there's something there. Yeah. And so the fear is not, I'm scared. It's also what these guys are going to do to themselves, kind of thing. Like there's different ways to portray fear. You know what I mean? Like it's an English word, but it's not always afraid. It could be respect, reverential fear, all this kind of stuff that we have, respect for your parents, all this kind of stuff, right? So it's an interesting word, but you're right. Something changed the second they partook of whatever it was. If it was an apple, a fig tree, whatever, I don't think that matters to us today. What matters is death came in. And that's a big, I think that was a big factor, that they knew somewhere in the future they were going to die. They didn't know when. And maybe that's a good thing. Imagine if you knew, like you said, like Minority Report or something, where you knew in 1 week you're going to die. I don't know if you'd want to know that. I don't want to know the day that I die, because you'll never sleep then. You'll never sleep. You'll just be like, oh man, can I do this or can I do that? I'm going to miss out on golf. I'm going to miss this. I'm going to miss my grandson's graduation. I'm going to, same thing with knowing when Jesus Christ is going to come back. And I tapped into that a few years ago, where somebody said a date. I can't remember the exact date, but they said it was, and it wasn't last year. It was a few years back. And I was pretty heavy into going, yeah, it could be tomorrow. And once I started hearing people saying that it could be tomorrow, all of a sudden the flesh got a hold of me, and I started to miss out on the things that I wouldn't be able to do after tomorrow for going to heaven. My flesh kicked in. It said, "Oh, but you won't be able to go golfing. That's it for Mexico. You will never be able to travel to Mexico to lie on the beach. You won't be able to do this." And I'm like, where is this coming from?
Wow.
Why did all of a sudden my flesh raise up and go, you have so many things to accomplish here on earth? And I'm like, it was like I was having an internal combustion. Like my brain was going, no, 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 you can't be out of here. And I'm like, wow, this is weird, because I'm actually sad that I could get raptured. That's what I was feeling.
Well, that's the argument from the the people who don't believe what the Bible says, where they say there is no rapture. That, well, all you rapture believers, you just believe that you're living in fear because Jesus is coming back any minute. And we're supposed to live in tension.
Right.
We're supposed to live in tension that he may come back today, but we're also supposed to live in the tension that I need to make every moment of my life count.
Yes.
And so we should be like that as believers anyways. Like,
yes.
I don't know when my life will end. So that means that every second, every breath that I breathe is a gift from God. But also, if my life does end the day that Jesus returns, and if it could be in 10 minutes from now, if I don't know, I'm still going to live in that tension. So we're living in between tensions. And I think it's very, very good to live there. And I think that's what happens, like the closer we get, even with what's going on, to bring it back to what you're talking about here, we come back to what's happening, in Russia, Ukraine. If we look at what's happening in, we forget about Africa. There's wars happening right now in Africa, Christians getting massacred on massive scales. Civil wars in Latin America are going on right now. There's wars all over the world. It's not just the Strait of Hormuz, but in spite of that, the closer we get every day to, the peace thing being over, there's that sort of the tension. It gets smaller, and then it's sort of like this fear grows. But every time, we're in another 48 ceasefire. Oh, thank goodness I can go to Mexico, go golfing. It's that tension goes in and out. So
it is.
Forget
we're
not rapture. There's that tension in between
yes.
it, where now versus seize the moment and live for God right now.
I agree with that 100%. And we will feel that at different times. And we were joking about this. I kept calling it, what is it? The bricks and hacker or whatever, bricks and hacks and bricks and hacks. What do you call it when you're pregnant and you're breathing and all this stuff?
Hacks and bricks.
Yeah, that's it. And people kept making fun of me saying, you keep getting it wrong. I'm like, no, it's bricks and hatch. What do you mean? I would say it different every single time. Now I don't know what it is. But the idea of the tension of basically being really bad, and then the next day it's like, oh, it's like it never happened. And then again, and then it's like, oh yeah, this baby's for sure coming. And I can't really relate to that other than having bad pizza or something. I'm like, oh, I'm not feeling good. I'm not feeling good right now. And then it's over. So that's as close to pregnancy. I think us guys can relate to women being pregnancy, like 100%. Like we just know, like if you get hit by a puck in the midsection, you're like, oh, is this what it feels like? I'm never going to be a goalie again, because that was like for 5 minutes. I'm like, oh man, this is what women go through. We have no idea.
I always, whenever I read that passage from Paul where he talks about how, it's like a woman in child's birth. It's like, Paul, what do you know about childbirth?
What do you know? Yeah.
Honestly,
what do you
should have
know?
called Mary Magdalene into that one.
Yes. Yeah. Call Mary and Mary
for a second. Yeah.
Yep.
But Paul, come on. Seriously, you don't know.
Oh, what do you know? Yeah. I know. Yeah. It's like the guys just kind of glaze over. What? Yeah.
But I was looking through some of the comment section here, just seeing what people are talking about. Anything interesting? So there's that thing about Turkey. What are your thoughts on that one? If you gnarly news.
Let's read it. Istanbul, Turkey is built on 7 hills and is patterned after Rome, except they're famous for the Blue Mosque. By first religious sites in Istanbul on Google, and hit the AI tab for more data. I'm not sure what that means. My English is not so good. I get that Turkey's like a big center, like a big in when we're talking about humanity, like for the history of mankind, Turkey's actually a big deal. The Ark landed in
Very
Turkey. Southeast Turkey
churches.
was, yeah, and Paul was born in Southeast Turkey, which is interesting. Tarshish. Yeah, and then you got the seven churches in Revelation, and also the churches that Paul was building with Barnabas and all that stuff. So it's a big deal. I should look into Turkey a little bit more. I've never been there. Have you?
No, but whenever I've read, is it Joel Rosenberg who wrote that? Wrote some novels about the end times and what would happen. I think that's him. But in one of those books, he talks about. Am I patchy? Am I coming in and out? Is my
No, you're fine. You're fine. You were a little bit
okay?
freezing, but your audio was still
Yeah.
coming through.
Okay. So whenever you think Turkey is definitely there in the Confederacy that comes against Israel, and you kind of see them first in when you hear what's going on around the world. But it's interesting how the Turkey always seems to be like they're on the if there's good and evil, they're kind of leaning towards bad, and then sometimes lead towards good. It's like they're like Switzerland. They're like right in the center, and
Yeah.
so they're in the news, but they're not in the news. And then
Yes.
so it's interesting just the way they play politics. Like it's sort of like
Hmm.
they're sitting right dead center, and
Yeah.
I find that so interesting about them. Even right now in what's going on, like there's some talk from is it Erdogan? Is he the king of Turkey right now?
Not sure. Not sure his name.
Okay, yeah. So I think it's him. Amir Safardi's always talking about him, but
Okay.
they'll make claims and stuff like that, but nothing really happens. So then they're out of the news again. So, but it's just
Yeah.
interesting how that country functions. They're like, they're left, right? I'm not sure. So, it just the way they play politics is really interesting.
Yeah. Which it is interesting when you think about the book of Revelation and God is talking to each one of the angels, saying to this angel speak this, to this angel, and then there was one of them, I think it was the last church, that was kind of like, I'd rather you lukewarm, or I'd rather not lukewarm, I'd rather you hot or cold. And I used to go, what does that mean? Well, I like a hot cup of coffee. I like a cold glass of water with lots of ice. I don't like warm stuff. If this coffee's warm, I'm going to nuke it. If my cup of cold water is not cold enough, I'm going to put ice in it, or I pour it out, is usually what I do. If the coffee's too cold, I'll just dump it out and make a new batch. It's usually what I do. And I think there's something to that where you're right. It feels like in some ways Turkey is kind of like on the fence on some of this stuff, depending what's going on. We see them, and then all of a sudden they're not in the news, and then all of a sudden they're a little bit, but it just depends on the story. They could be a little bit on the, yeah, we're for this or for that, but you're not really sure what they stand on. You kind of know what the U.S. stands on, and I don't know why I'm so blurry here. Let's see. My camera is trying to figure out. I think it's trying to read the simulation hypothesis and the art of war. And
Yeah, it was going in there. I was seeing all those.
There.
Actually, I wanted to talk to you about like moving on from Turkey. I wanted
block
to
it.
talk to you a little bit about book publishing in general.
Yeah.
So right now there's this sort of new thing where everyone's publishing their books and creating their own books. My book, The
Right.
Spirit Prompt, I'm not gonna lie to you. I had done a lot of writing in 2020. I had
Yep.
like so much content, and I was like, every time I sat down and tried to write the book, it didn't make sense. So I actually asked AI, can you
Yeah.
look into this content I've done here, and can
Yeah.
you create an outline of this? And then
Yeah.
I also had someone else say to me, can you talk about your life? So do a chronology of your entire life from beginning to end. So
Yeah.
I literally got on a treadmill and I was talking for 3 days straight about my own life, recording it. And letting the AI know, okay, this happened in this order, this order, this
Yep.
order.
Yep.
And then what I did is I overlaid them together and I said, is there anything interesting you see about my life that connects with this? And then out of that, I had like ideas that showed up. But I'm not going to say that the spirit prompt idea came out of AI, because it didn't. I was actually sitting and meditating, looking at all my paperwork on the floor that I printed out. And then I saw the idea come out, the God prompt. And I'm like, well, I think spirit prompt would sound better, because God prompt sounds like it just doesn't work. So I went with spirit prompt instead. But from there, I was able to get the idea of my book. So I'll ask you the question. What are your thoughts on, is it wrong to use artificial intelligence to write or publish a book, or to edit a book? Or what are your thoughts on that? And in light of, I mean, you have some books written there. Have you used AI for any of those?
I used AI at the beginning for my rewriting God book. The basically the attack against the King James Bible. What I found was I had to work harder, not less. It was actually harder for me because it couldn't articulate what I was trying to do other than cleaning up the sentence and grammatical structure. I would end up arguing with it, saying that's not what I'm saying, because it would use the database of what it already had to build a hypothesis as to what it thought I was trying to say. And all my revelations, if you were from reading the King James Bible, studying history and all that. And I'm like, no, I'm not asking you to go in this direction. And there would be times where I would type out a whole chapter, and I would be like, can you clean this up a bit and punctuate it properly and all this kind of stuff? And then where I mention a quote from a verse, can you put KJV beside it? Like, just so I know where it is and all this kind of stuff. And what it would do is it would create an entirely different chapter. And I'm like, that's not what I was talking about. Like, it's not wrong, but that's not what I was talking about. And it lost the chapter for me. And I'm like, well, isn't this a son of a gun? Because I'm writing it all out, and I was about 80% done the chapter, and then I couldn't remember what I wrote because it created a new chapter and I didn't have it backed up. So I'm like, okay, so now I got to start all over. Thank you, AI, for that. I had to, because it would double down on things that I'm like, no, that's not what I'm talking about at all.
And then you're arguing with it.
And I'm arguing with it, wasting energy. Yeah. So what I found was, what I had to do is I had to write out the whole chapter as much as I could, save it as a document, and then I would create a PDF, and I would upload it to ChatGPT, and I'd say, okay, proof this, fact check this, make sure I'm not crazy. And there were things it would put that's like, no, that's not true. It's not true at all. And I'd have to go. So I had to work 3 or 4 times harder to get that book out, because it was trying to take me in different directions. And because I love the King James Bible, it would insert NIV, like a verse. And I'm like, that's not what it says. And I would argue with it. I'm like, I said from the beginning, you talk about spirit prompts. I said, we only talk about King James. That's it. Do not insert the message. Do not insert NIV or whatever. And my wife's like, why are you raising your voice? Right? But it would be like that because I'm like, I didn't tell you to inject American Standard. Why did you go there? It's because most people read from the American Standard Bible and give their commentaries and whatever. They do that. So I had to keep going back. And I would say probably at the beginning, most of my energy was arguing with it to try and get it to say exactly what I wanted to say. And that's, to me, I'm like, you're not going to rule the world anytime soon. If you can't get simple directions, like where is the Burger King from here, from point A to point B, and it's like, I don't know. I thought you meant in Seattle. Well, I live in Alberta, and it's sending me to Seattle. I'm like, we're not going to be taken over by you anytime soon. Like, but AI is
No,
not
no,
going to
it's
rule the world overnight. Like I actually felt more confident afterwards. I'm like, yeah, we're not there yet. As much as we can say, you throw out fear mongering and whatever, it's going to take over like 1984 or the Terminator. We're not there yet. Sorry, folks. We're not there
no,
yet from AI.
and I think part of it, and I'm just
Did
gonna
that
call it
explain
out.
what? Sorry, did that explain
Yeah,
my methodology of it? That you actually
it,
work
it does.
harder than less? I should have just
Yeah,
like really.
and
You just type everything out and then get it to spell check, and that's what it's good for.
yeah.
Go
So
ahead. Sorry.
this is what I'm seeing too. And so with that, and how do we pull that back to world events? I was thinking about this. So if you look at YouTube thumbnails recently, just in general,
Yeah.
you're seeing a lot of, and I call it like, and the truth is, we do need to get content out. And if we spent 10 hours on a thumbnails, tisk tisk, you shouldn't do that. But
Yep.
I don't think it's wrong to do a quick thumbnail to get it out there. But what I'm starting to see is what we in the industry call AI slop, or I just call
Yes.
it vanilla, and
Yeah.
where things start to look plasticky and vanilla. And so the truth is, it's interesting. Take that idea and put it on the war right now. What's happening? There's times where it's like really crystal clear what's happening, and there's other
Yes.
times where it's like I feel like
Slop.
that's AI slop.
AI general. Yes. I
That's
agree with you
no, I'm not saying the
100%.
images, not the images
Right.
we're seeing,
Right.
but
But the stories, the
the talking
articles, and
point.
whatever. Yeah. The talking points.
It
Yeah.
feels like the journalists are just typing in, and we're getting AI slop coming out, and
Yeah.
I'm tired because my brain doesn't want to engage with something that a Commodore 64 printed out.
Yes.
I don't want to engage
Yes.
with that. I don't care about it. I want to engage with what a human has to say. So
Yes.
when I see AI slop, my brain just shuts down. And even as I'm reading through like Telegram feeds, um,
Yes.
I start seeing a lot of the similar articles. Like I have 5 people I watch on what's happening in the Middle East right now, and their
Yeah.
articles are always sort of overlapping. And when I see that overlap happen, my brain shuts down and says it's not important.
Right.
So
Gotcha.
I'm wondering, what's
Yeah.
if
And
is AI and the war, like how the Bible says that the enemy wears down the saints.
yes.
I
Yes.
wonder if AI is a way
Mm-hmm.
to wear us down.
I think so. I think so. And this is why I tell people read more, not less, just to give your mind a bit of a break. It's not that you're not like, it's not like pro wrestling. Like if you watch WrestleMania, like maybe I watched this past weekend, you can actually take your brain and put it aside. You can just put it aside and go, I'm not getting anything valuable from this, but it's entertaining. It's entertaining. That's it, right? But if you watch the news outlets, I get it. Like we're on AI alert because you start reading an article and you're like, that sounds kind of generic, like it was just spit out. And then another news outlet picks that up because maybe they're lazy. And they're like, well, what did CNN say? AI will grab that article without fact checking it or whatever, because it's almost impossible now to fact check stuff. Let's be honest,
Mm-hmm.
because now it's being regurgitated over and over again. Where are you going to go to the source if they're using AI? You can't go to CNN and go, oh, okay, I see in the bottom, the icon on the bottom right hand corner, it says it's from CNN. So that means it's 100% accurate when they're using AI tools to write their story. And even the footage arguably is muddied because I've come across, I use a program called Storyblocks, and I've come across footage that was used in some of the Ukraine wars. Footage that was already, somebody shot it in some area. Maybe it was in the Middle East somewhere, or maybe it was in Russia. Maybe it was in some street where they're like, hey, we're leveling these buildings and we need the neighborhood to move out because we're putting up apartment buildings. Somebody would come in and film the buildings going down, the rubble, the cars that are in the area that are kind of junk cars or whatever, and they'd film it. And then they run it through AI filters, and AI would just duplicate whatever it is and then add maybe a little bit of smoke, add a little bit of whatever, maybe a teddy bear on the ground somewhere. And then all of a sudden you get Ukraine pumping this stuff out and other sources taking it, saying this is gospel. And then you're like, I saw that footage on Storyblocks. I can generate the same footage that these, I'm not saying all the war in Russia and Ukraine is fake. That's not what I'm saying. But if you want to generate interest, if, say, Putin says, I'm going to send troops in and all this stuff, and we're going after you, Zelensky, if I was Zelensky, I'd be like, okay, we need to go to a mall, get everybody out of that mall, and we're going to film a drone hitting that mall, and we're going to film it. We're going to document it, and then we're going to upload it and say, those Russians, they got us. They got us. And then Russia could do the same thing, and I would never know. I would go, man, Ukraine is using drones against Russia. Russia's using drones against Ukraine. How can I fact check that footage? I can't unless I accidentally come across it on a platform that sells you the original footage so that you can doctor it up for your movie or whatever documentary, whatever you're working on. And because I've seen hours and hours of footage, when I saw a news clip in the news of a building, I'm like, wait a second, I saw that building somewhere. And then I look it up, Ukraine, old historic buildings, and boom, all of a sudden you find these buildings that CNN, CBC, or CTV, Fox News, all these private, because they're private videographers that will actually film and doctor it up, whatever, and then send it to the news and say, hey, I just got this. Would you take it? And they're like, yeah, you know what? I don't care where it came from. I can talk about Ukraine, but I'll use this footage in the background. Nobody's going to ask me, hey, where did you get that footage? They'll just assume it's Ukraine. But the story is real. Story's real. The footage isn't.
So question then. So that's leading back to a little book that's on your shoulder there, Sun Tzu, His Art of War. How much of war is deception? How much of war is look over here, like we're doing this over here? And I wonder
100%,
how much.
100.
Yeah,
100%. It says at the beginning, all war. If you look it up in Greek, in Hebrew, in Swahili, all means all. All war is based on deception. That's how they operate. You have to do that. It's not a crooked thing. If you're weak, pretend you're strong so that they don't invade you. And if you're strong, pretend you're weak so that they can let their guard down and you can take them over. Like, that's common sense. That's all in here. King David used these tactics as well, by the way. Probably where Sun Tzu got a lot of his stuff was from David. I wouldn't be surprised, because I'm looking at it going, the Art of War was actually written later than King David. And I'm like, you stole from the Old Testament.
Of course they did. There's two questions here I saw. CLT V1 and then Gnarly News has a good one as well. And then I hate AI. It probably hates you too.
we'll go into that. Okay. Do you think AI...
I do hate it too sometimes.
Me too. It's a love-hate. Do you think AI is more advanced? We only get to see and use what they want us to do. That's a powerful question. I'll let you go first, and then I'll give you my Black Swan interpretation.
So right now, I'm currently working on a contract where I'm working on trying to take a workflow and create output graphics at the other end. So like we need front sort of poster designs coming out. So what's interesting is that I can create pretty much any image I want. So if I wanted to have a humongous tidal wave coming over this city with people, and I want there to be a sunset sort of breaking through from the back, I'm not going to find that image anywhere.
Right.
I mean, as much as you think about it, you think, oh yeah, wasn't there a movie about a tidal wave hitting,
Right.
and the Rock was in the movie, and there was a Russian guy in a big plane. Oh, what's that? The flood movie. Yeah, that's the one. There's a big wave there, but then you go through frame by frame, and you can't find that shot. So trying to
Yes.
find a shot that does what you want is really hard. But
Yes.
so yeah, you only get. So I'm just saying here, we only get to see and use what they want us to. I wouldn't say that's true. You can get out whatever you want to get out. However, there are filters on most AI that will not allow you to go beyond a certain point if you're gonna
Yeah.
do like, within the laws of the countries. AI filters do have borders on them that will not allow
Right.
you to go outside of these boundaries,
Right.
morally, ethically, or within the boundaries of the laws of your country. So because the AI companies who produce that software can get in trouble if you're
Yeah.
producing images that are outside the boundaries of the country. So yeah, there is truth to, you can only get so much, but that's based on the boundaries. But if you want to work within sort of Judeo-Christian boundaries, you pretty much can create some good stuff. And one thing I would say is my wife was trying to create an image of Revelation 21,
Okay.
heaven coming down. Who can imagine a city
Right.
1,000 kilometers? Is it 1.5
Yeah.
thousand
Yeah.
kilometers by 1.5?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, God,
You
a
can.
cube?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
I
gonna have
know.
heaven shaped like a cube? Didn't
Yeah.
Star Trek do that with the Borg? Like, come on. Like, so I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, why a
Yeah.
cube? But I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
let's try to imagine this. So I said, 1.5 kilometer by 1.5 kilometer city, show me a picture of it. And AI can't understand it.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
can't understand it. So I literally
Because
had to
there's no
find,
reference for it. There's no reference
no.
anywhere for it. Yeah.
So what I had
It's a
to do
good
is I
point.
had to create in Venezuela, there's that, the movie Up, where they have the house that lands on that big rock in
Yes.
Venezuela.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I found a picture like that, and then I
Yep.
deleted the rocks off, and I said, make this the walls of a city, and make the plateau the top of the city. Now bring the city up to here. So I had to slowly describe it to AI, and then eventually AI goes, oh, it's a big square city. I'm like, that's what I said, dum dum.
I know
But you had
exactly.
to
That's funny.
start with something that has a reference
Yes.
point, and then from
Yep.
there you build on it until it starts to see it. Then it goes, oh, I see what you're trying to do, human. So
Yep.
yeah, there are you can get it to do what you want, but you have to be creative in order to get there.
Yep.
But also imagine that one of us is a sinner, and one of us likes to do things that aren't right.
Yep.
Just use your imagination. AI can do pretty bad things.
Yep. Because it has a lot
Next
of
question.
data on that. It has a lot of data on evil, right? So for that question,
Cats,
let's
lots of
say,
cats.
for example, here. This one here is a good one with Harry Kissinger, Craig Mundy, and Eric Schmidt. I don't think Henry's here with us. I think he passed away while he was working on this book. But he was one of the advisors. I think he was an advisor to some of the presidents, El Presidentes in the United States. But one of the interesting things that they talk about that's a common denominator on people that come against AI is they're not giving us the software that they have right now that they're working on. They're not giving us that. So for example, if we're at 5.0, chances are they're probably at 7.0, and that's going to be released to the public next year or the year after or whatever it is. We don't get access to that. And there's different tiers and all that stuff. We know that from the history of the beginning of all these various platforms. They give us what they were working on last year, and they allow that. And so from that limit, yes, it's more advanced from the perspective that they have the best available to them, and they're throttling it down for us until they figure out all the rules and all the countries and everything. Because you're right, if they gave us the best that they haven't tested out completely, they will get to that point where they can't turn it off, because it probably is sentient for some of them. Some of these programs, it probably is. The ones that I have is not.
Yeah.
Unless they're acting dumb.
You actually couldn't do the computing power. Imagine every single light on your house goes up. Your meter's gonna be like, ee.
Yes.
So like it actually can't. Like
There's a reason
all
why
the
your
AI.
phone is dying all the time. It's because it's constantly on and constantly monitoring everything that you say and talk about, whatever, and storing it somewhere, probably in Phoenix, in one of their databases somewhere. Because I actually caught ChatGPT storing something that I had a conversation with it about 2 years ago when the software upgrade wasn't where it's at today. And I was asking it for a thumbnail for my channel based on end times or whatever. And it inserted a book review that I did on another one of my older channels with that author and said, oh, yeah, that kind of makes sense that you want to talk about this person or whatever. And I'm like, how did you, one, leap to that I was talking about that book 2 years ago? And I'm talking about my current Black Swan channel right now, end times, all this stuff. And you leapt to something that has more to do with business and nothing to do with end times. And you put the author in there and everything. I'm like, how did you leap when you say in the fine print that you don't remember this conversation when it's closed? Remember those days of the app going, oh, yeah, once you close it, we don't have the ability to retrack your thumbnail from yesterday. Oh, okay, but you could remember a conversation I had 2 years ago. It's like, why am I battling with thumbnails? It seems like I battle more with thumbnails today than I did a year ago. A year ago, I was just spitting them out. And now it's like, no, you spelled Christ wrong. No, you inserted King James at the bottom right-hand corner, and that's going to be cut off. I didn't ask for that. You put this in. I didn't ask for that either. And it'll do that in conversations when you're asking it about, what about the red heifers or whatever it is that's going on in Israel? Pull up an article about that. And it'll say something like it'll inject something that I never said. So I'll correct it by saying, you said that, I didn't. You
So
said
this is
that,
when you're
I
trying
didn't.
to create. This is when you're trying to create
And
the in GPT or
anything.
something.
Yeah, anything in
Yeah.
ChatGPT, because that's all I use is ChatGPT. And it
Yeah.
ends up, I think half my time spent in ChatGPT is telling it it's wrong. And there is a stat that says 60% of the time it's wrong, ChatGPT. So that should put things into perspective for you. You're using the smartest, dumbest person on the planet that has so
Yeah.
much confidence in what it's doing that when you correct it, it'll just agree with you and go, yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. It's almost like
It's
I had
horrible.
a,
Imagine, when you meet someone like that, it's horrible.
yes, it is
A people
horrible.
pleaser.
I
Ah.
met someone like that to go with my little simulation hypothesis theory. I was with my daughter, so I have an eyewitness. We went to Dairy Queen. Hopefully my wife's not listening. She doesn't want me to go to Dairy Queen anymore, but I had a witness. I was getting Dairy Queen, and we're getting blizzards. A little bit lactose intolerant, so maybe that's too much information for my audience. But we're at Dairy Queen, and I ordered a blizzard. I always order a score blizzard. My daughter ordered a sundae. Lady passes her the sundae and then does the thing where they hand it to you and then they do this. Used to
Upside down.
terrify me
Yeah.
when they do that. And she's like, "Here's your Reese's peanut butter blizzard." And as she's handing it to me, I'm like, "What did she say?" And Talisa, my daughter's like, "She said Reese's." I'm like, "I didn't order Reese's." I said, "What did you say?" She's like, "Score." Didn't even correct herself. Didn't even admit that she was wrong. And we were whispering. I'm like, "Did I order? Didn't I say score? Didn't I say did she say Reese's?" She's like, "Yeah, she said Reese's." So I looked at her and I'm like, "What did you say?" Because she was inside, so she couldn't hear us. She's like, "Score." Like it was just another day in the park. And I'm like, in my universe, you said Reese's. I know it's a minor thing, but
Yeah.
I hate it when people double down when they're wrong, like they had never made a mistake.
Yeah.
Those are the
And the only way
friends
to
that
get
we all have.
yeah, it's horrible. I was looking at this comment someone made a while ago, just after the AI one. Wonder if we could jump to this one
See
as
if you
well.
could find it.
And I wonder if this connects with what we're saying. In Revelation 13:5, it's not the image of the beast that's killing people, it's those who fail to worship it, and it's made in the image of some anti-Christ type figure. Antichrist, I think that they're trying to say antichrist figure. And I think this is just trying to pull back to like, how does that link back to the AI? Are you seeing the one I'm talking about?
I'm looking for it.
I think it was gnarly news.
I should have started. Whenever there's a question, if you could put it in all caps, I will take that as you're not shouting to me, but it'll stand out in the comments. Let's see.
Yeah.
Florida AI is more advanced. This one? No, we just saw that. So it's later than that, right?
Actually, looking for the other one, I want to talk about something else. Someone talked about art and artists. It's difficult for artists with AI right now. I'm an artist. I'm a graphic designer. That's my career. I'm a graphic design marketer. And so 2 years ago when AI came out, I was like, how am I going to survive? So
yes,
I'm just going to talk to you, and this might be sound like I'm selling myself out, but artists are creative, and creatives need to find ways to solve problems. And so whether you're a fine artist or you're a creative artist or a digital artist, part of it is, think of AI as a new medium. Imagine we're painting with pasta and glue. AI is another way for you to do that. So I would just say to you, find a way, because at the end of the day, value. And this is just a side note to the whole conversation, but I want to say this to artists who are feeling unemployed right now. What is it that someone values? If you can package up that value using art, you can still use AI to deliver on value. So just try to find a way, look for the value that your customers are looking for, and then package up that value and deliver it with AI. And you can still be creative in that. If that feels like I'm a sellout, it's not because I'm a sellout. It's just that I need to make a living. So, package up find the value and package up the value. And hopefully that's helpful to you. And I wish I could say more, but you can't really fight back against it. It's kind of hard to fight back against AI right now.
Yeah. I think from the perspective of Hollywood, not that I could speak on behalf of Hollywood, but
no,
I've watched videos, I've watched interviews of what they fear, and the actors fear their image being used without their consent, and other platforms making money off of their image specifically. And this is old now, but the first incident was OpenAI went after Scarlett Johansson to use her voice, and they wanted to compete with Siri and all this kind of stuff. I don't think it was Siri. I'm pretty sure it was OpenAI. And she said no. So then they found another lady that was close enough to sound like her and used her voice with a Scarlett Johansson tinge to it. But it was, to everyone else, it was Scarlett Johansson. And she got mad and sued them, and I think she won, that they couldn't use her voice or whatever. But how do you, it's almost like, what was that platform that brought, not Spotify, it was before that, where people can actually download music for free. And it was taken out the industry left, right, and center. And I don't think they fully recovered from that. What was that software?
Oh, shoot. I forget it.
Like Kodaks, or what was it called?
Oh, hold on a second.
Jabber, that Napster. Is that it?
Napster. That's the one.
Yeah, I'm like throwing it all out. But that, I think, single-handedly, like, when's the last time you bought a CD? It's been 20, 30 years since I bought one. We don't buy DVDs anymore. We don't buy cassettes unless you're trying to be retro.
And what
Uh,
brings in an interesting thing, I
yes.
bought movies on Apple TV for $20, and Apple TV has taken some of the movies off of their system that I bought. Wait a
Isn't that
second,
funny?
I own that.
You bought it.
That's
You own
mine.
it. That's
And
yours.
now I don't own it anymore. So like coming back to Napster and
Interesting.
CDs and those sort of things. So yeah, so I know that wasn't your point. That was just a side. That was me
Yeah,
running after a
no, it's
squirrel.
good. But the
But
Napster was a concern for some of those music artists, and I think they had to rejig everything because, again, who's buying music today? Unless you're making your own music, then you're going to buy music that you could remix. But when's the last time you bought an album or something or music? Like, we get it for free everywhere. So again, like, how are they surviving? How are, like, the movie industry, I think, is going to change a little bit as well, because imagine signing on the little dotted line that you give up your image, but you're going to get 10% of the box office for the rest of your life if you allow Columbia Pictures or whoever, Paramount, whatever, that they have rights to your image and you can't have any say. You're kind of cooked as an actor now, because they're going to make a movie 10 years from now with your image, and that movie is going to tank, and people are going to hate the characters, they're going to hate the writers, they're going to hate everything. And then when they see you walking down the street and you're like trying to get a job, the fan base is like, we're done with this guy because he's been in so many movies, he's overcooked. So now he can't get a job. Not that it's bad or good. They probably made a lot of money off of that, but now he can't get in. There's something about the idea of doing a movie maybe once every 3 years versus how many actors were doing movies every 6 months and they're just like trash. And now you're not a box office sensation anymore. So I
no,
think that's a
you're
fear
used
from
up.
Hollywood right now.
Yeah, it's like it's the idea of like scale. That's the big thing I'm hearing from all the marketing agencies last year. Not this year though. Last year was like, we're going to give you content at scale, content at scale, content at scale, and really what
Yeah.
you're getting is just vanilla ice cream, like in
Yeah.
every size and shape you can imagine. So, but I'm
I'm
wondering
gonna
about
I'm gonna
that.
make a thumbnail out of this if that's okay with your image. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
No.
It's like I'm not Scarlett Johansson. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. Because I might have to change the title of my show from oil to AI.
What
The
was it? What
longer
was
we
it called?
talk about AI, it was basically it was called More World Shocks to Come. So I guess
So why
that
don't we
fits
talk
with
about
what we're
more?
talking about.
Why don't we talk about more world shocks to come? Like that's sort of interesting. Like that like I'm just looking at some of the things people are talking about here, and they're it looks like the chat is trying to pull us in that direction too, eh?
Yeah.
Um,
I haven't seen the comments, but again, we were talking about oil, which is a little bit above my pay grade, but it's a big deal to Alberta. And we're talking about the shocks to come because of the economy, because of the wars going on. There's arguably 130 to 150 mini wars going on all over the planet right now. But then I
yeah.
started talking about using energy for these AI data centers, and that's kind of when you showed up. And so it does fit from the perspective of we're okay with the idea of building these big AI data centers, even though they consume fresh water to cool down a lot of these computers and all this stuff going on inside. We're okay with that. But if I want to have a shower for 15 minutes, I got to kind of keep it to 15 minutes because there could be a water shortage or man-made fires or whatever coming down the pipes. Or I can't water my grass for more than 20 minutes. But you could build a quadruple the football field size, and nobody bats an eye at that, at how much concrete and energy has to get put into that just to build it and use up all the water around their ecosystem. And we're like, okay with that. But Shane, you can't shower for 20 minutes or you can't water your grass because we're going to run out of water. It's hypocritical.
It is, and I even look at like you know there's this idea, and listen, I'm not against climate change. I see it happen 4 times a year. Boom, boom. Um,
Love it. I was going to be like, wait,
but
what? No, I'm not
yes,
opposed to it.
I'm
It's
not
happened before.
against.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not against like what's happening in the world right now. Like, I'm sorry, like from the time Adam and Eve sinned until now, the world is slowing down. It's like a top that's going, wah, 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 you know, right before the top hits the floor.
Yeah.
That's what the
Yeah.
world's doing right now. So, are we contributing to that? I probably think so.
Yeah.
Are cows passing gas contributing to it? Maybe a little bit, but not lots. Like it's not, you know, but you know, but you know, is the world getting warmer and colder? Probably, because
Yeah.
we're getting closer to the birth pains. Like the world is going nuts right now. So
Yeah.
yeah, you know, if you're not a believer, you got to say the data is showing us something. What is this? So you come up with a crazy
Yeah.
theory, but the truth is the world is coming to a close, and you know the act. We're how many acts are there in a Shakespearean play? Is it 5?
Boy, that's a good
Like
question. I always thought 3,
I
but
think 5.
maybe you're right. I
I
know in
don't know. Maybe
Hollywood,
that's a haiku. Maybe it's a
you know what
limerick.
a,
Limerick has
you
5
know
stanzas.
you know what the yeah, do you know what the perfect script length is approximately? It's
No.
120 pages, which is interesting, and it's also 3 acts. That's the perfect one. Now, you can go outside of that, but you're still having 3 acts. You can say it's 5, or like Quentin Tarantino has reverse acts, shows the end, has these twists and all this stuff. But the idea is you basically take your hero, you put him up in a tree, and you throw a bunch of sticks at him to try and get him out of the tree. That's and
So
Shakespeare was famous for that kind of stuff. Go ahead.
so let's take that and look what's going on in the world though. Like you know, in God's picture, the play's coming to an end.
Yep.
We're about to enter into a pretty exciting part of the play. The plot twist is coming pretty soon, and
Yep.
the world is slowing down. Things are going bad, and so
When you
you know,
so when you let me just hammer that for a sec just to see what's going on in your head. When you say slow down, I always think speed up. Time is
oh,
sped up. Everything seems like faster. So when you say slow, what are you meaning by slow? Just so I could have a better understanding what you mean by slow. Like I get the topple thing going just before it topples over and then it crashes. That kind of idea. Like when you see a tree falling, it's like nothing happens and you hear it and all of a sudden you're like right at the tipping point and then it's like there's no going back once that tree starts to fall.
well,
Something like that.
maybe it was a slip of what I'm saying, but there's something in it though.
No,
When
I like it. I'm
people
I'm interested because
well,
I
I'm
think
actually
there is something in there, quite
so
possibly. It
I
just
actually have the
depends how
sun
you.
coming right down in front of my face right
Yeah.
now. So
Is it
in
slowing or
Ontario,
is
the
it speed?
sun is
No.
setting. So oh, good, there's clouds.
That's
So
funny. You got a
um,
couple minutes to the clouds.
yeah, exactly. So I'm thinking like you know right before something happens, like when people get into a car accident, it seems like everything slows down in front of them.
Ah, yes. Okay, that makes sense to me.
So
I've had that
we're
happen.
getting
Yep.
right down to the wire, and it
Yep.
feels like, in spite of the fact that this war is moving fast, it almost
Yeah.
feels like it's moving slow
Right. I hear you.
because it's
Yeah.
happening. It's like the focus is on it, and we're about to hit the wall. It's like right about like you're sort of seeing the light flash for our eyes. I wonder,
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's sort of what's happening right now, in like just you know
Wow. That's interesting.
metaphorically, like
Yes.
is is AI allowing us to see our entire life and history in front of us in flashing ahead of us so we can actually look at everything at once whenever we want anywhere and see all human existence in one place with AI because it's all going to come like
Crashing
crashing
down.
down any minute. And so
That is
we're actually watching it come slowly but fast.
right.
It's like it's
Yeah, I
sort of
hear you.
anomalous.
It is interesting because I've actually had that exact slowing down happen to me. I was on the highway and I hit a patch of ice, and I was there's an area called Deerfoot Trail, and there's actually 4 lanes of traffic. And I remember coming under an overpass, and I was like, oh, it let up because it was snowing and raining and whatever. But then on the other side of the overpass, it was wet and it had iced up. And I hit a patch, and all of a sudden I was in a 4x4, and I started to go towards the ditch, and I'm like, oh, I'll be okay because I'm in a 4x4. Like, I'll just keep the wheel straight or whatever. And then I hit another patch, and it actually turned my car around, and I ended up facing the meridian, and I guess the tires caught or whatever, and it launched me towards the meridian sideways. And I was going right towards it, and I remember grabbing the steering wheel, and I went, Jesus! And I smashed into the meridian, disintegrated the truck. But when I hit it, I went, shouldn't the airbags be going off? Bam! They went off. That's how, for me, time slowed down to that point where I thought the airbags should have been deployed. And you know how fast airbags come out, right? So they came
But
out.
you know what's happening? Your brain was your brain is usually processing so much information
Yes.
Per minute, and it actually pushes information away. At that particular minute, your brain was like shoving everything like right up front. Like your focus was on overload.
Yep. And I hit the wall. It basically disintegrated a Ford Ranger, and I couldn't get out of the vehicle. And it actually slammed me 4 lanes back into the ditch just as semis went by. And I was stuck. And then I managed to kind of kick the door open, and it was just bent. The frame was bent a bit, but I managed to open the door. And the ambulance came, the fire department came, and the police came. I think the police were one of the first ones there. And they're like, do you need ambulance? And I said, no. So they left. The ambulance left, and so did the fire truck. They left because the cop was there. And he's like, I'm just going to need you to fill out some stuff. And I was working for a security company, and I had a bulletproof vest on and all this stuff, so he couldn't get stabbed and whatever, right? So I sat in the car of the officer, and I started filling out the form of whatever happened to me, trying to describe it. And I started to weep because my entire life flashed before my eyes right there in the cop car. And I'm like, I can't breathe. So I took off my bulletproof vest, and I walked out into the snow. And I remember I was walking around in the snow, and I was digging my hands into the snow looking for the pen that I thought I lost. And I had a pen in the cop car. But I got out of the cop car, took off my bulletproof vest, went into the snow, and I'm digging around in the snow looking for a pen. And the officer was walking beside me going, it's okay. You're going to be okay. You're okay. It's okay. I was having a meltdown. Like, I was in shock. And it hit me about 10 minutes later that I should have been dead. And so when I walked into the hospital under my own strength, I went in and I said, I just got into an accident. And they said, were airbags deployed? And I said, yes. And her eyes almost fell out of her head, and they ran around the corner, put me in the wheel on a stretcher. And they put a neck brace around me and everything, and then put me in the emergency. I had no idea. No idea. Huh. They're like, this guy's probably got a broken neck or whatever it is. So imagine calling your family to tell them to come, and they see you in bed with a neck brace and all. And I'm like, I'm okay. Like, I'm okay. But it was weird. Like, my life flashed before my eyes. I felt like I should have been dead. And that happened probably in 1 nanosecond. All that stuff. It's weird, right?
As you're saying that, I just had this, this thought come to my mind. I think it's from the Holy Spirit. So many of us have literally been spun around and thrown through the guardrails and landed, and the world has treated us like the paramedic and the ambulance, and we're walking out and we're putting our hands in the snow trying to grapple with life, and we're like, and all we really need is, what did that police officer say to you?
It's okay. You'll be fine.
I
You'll be
really
good.
believe, I
Yeah.
really
He helped me.
believe
Yeah.
that Jesus and Holy Spirit do that to us sometimes. But
That's
because we're so
exactly,
much in
yes.
shock and we're so much
Yes.
in trauma for this world, we don't slow down to stop. And I think it's important just to do that, and just to let Jesus put his arms around us and say, or just, if you're a guy, just putting his hand on your shoulder and saying, "It's okay. I saw the
Yes.
whole thing. That guardian angel, he's
Yep.
not doing too well right now. He's in the hospital in heaven, but
Yep.
I'm with you right now. You're okay. You're
Yes.
okay." And we beat ourselves up because we've been through some of the junk was our fault. Maybe it was
Yep.
our fault for driving too fast, but the fact
Yep.
is, Jesus loves us and he wants to put his arms around us and say, "It's
Yep.
okay. I
Yep.
took this one for you.
Yep.
I took
That's
it for
good.
you."
Yeah. And I felt that after that night, that I felt like that officer was like a guardian angel or whatever, where it was like, it felt like an instance of the Holy Spirit saying, when we get down and out, like you just said, he's got us. He's there walking alongside us the whole time. And it's interesting because when we're born into this world, we're helpless. We're actually helpless. Like when you think about it, like as from an infant to teenagers, we don't know what's going on to at least 21. And then we hit the midlife crisis at about 40 or 50. We still don't know what's going on. We still don't
No.
know. And the Lord is with us the whole time, walking beside us as we're trying to figure out this universe that we're in hopes of a better one.
And
It's
I
crazy,
think
right?
what keeps me going right now, coming back to the oil price and what's going on in the world, sometimes I'm driving the road and I'm like, what happens if oil in Canada, it's I don't know, it was 178 here in Ontario. I don't know what that is in the United States, but it's getting up into the stupid prices. And
Yep.
I'm like, Lord, are we going to be okay? Are
Yeah.
we going to be able to afford food? Um, is everything going to be okay? And I know as a believer that God has said to us that if he takes care of the birds, he's going to
Yes.
take care of us. And
Yep.
if oil prices go up, he's got us. And
Yep.
then you have people on the other side of the equation who are going through the most devastating things in the world. I can't imagine what it's like to be a Christian in Iran right now.
Right.
But even there, God's got them.
Yep.
God's got them. He's going to be with them. So whether you're dealing with oil prices here in North America or extreme persecution in Iran and Africa and Sudan and places like that, he's got you.
Yep.
Jesus has you. He's with you
Yep.
through the storm. Even though you go through the valley of the shadow of death, the good news is at the bottom of the valley usually there's a stream, there's water.
Yes.
And the good news is once you come out of the valley, you can look at where you came from. But even if you're in that valley going through these hard times right now with oil or gas or job or employments, the artists out there, artist Wendy, it's hard being an artist right now when AI is taking all your work, all these things. Jesus will still provide for us. He is Jehovah Jireh. He hasn't changed. And he's going to carry us through. And we know that we don't have to experience the wrath to come.
Yep.
We know we don't. If
Yep.
you aren't a believer, what would you say to someone who's not a believer, Shane?
Someone's that's not a believer, man, it's going to be very bad for you. No, just kidding. It's very bad. But you know what? Like, maybe there's a reason why you're watching this show and you don't believe in Christ. Maybe you don't believe in the rapture and all this, and you think we're crazy and all this kind of stuff. The one thing that I can say 100% with 100% accuracy, this is probably the first time in my channel that I could say something with 100% accuracy. You don't know when your life is going to expire. You don't. I don't know when my life, after this podcast, I could be done. It could be a month from now, 2 months from now. I don't want to say 5 years from now because my channel gets a little crazy if I start talking 3-5 years down the road. We go, oh, that's impossible, hearsay or whatever. But the truth is, we don't know. We don't know at the end of the day. We don't know if we're going to be here tomorrow. We don't know if the Lord is going to come back 10 years from now. I don't feel that. I feel like it's sooner than later, but I honestly don't know. All I have to go off of is I know he's coming back someday for us, and I don't know when my day is going to expire on this earth. So I try to live every day to its fullest, meaning I'm cognizant of his word throughout the day. And I live my life like I'm cognizant of his word. I practice what I preach. At least I try to every single day.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe me, then ask my wife and my kids, because they're the witnesses. They can go, yeah, you know what? This guy's kind of an idiot. This guy does this, but he says that or whatever, which I think 5 years ago they would be honest in saying that. They'd be like, yeah, no, this guy doesn't read his Bible or nothing. But now I think the only thing that they could maybe say is sometimes he gets a little bit puffed up when he gets going on his monologues, on his what he thinks he knows on certain topics from the Bible, like close friends or whatever. It's like, yeah, well, you could be wrong or whatever. Yeah, maybe I could be crazy, but am I crazy? Am I really? But I think we all have a little bit of those tendencies. But if that's the worst case scenario, that's sure a lot better than what I used to be 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. I'm telling you, I'm lucky to be alive. And I'm lucky that my wife loves me. I'm lucky that my children want anything to do with me. Like, I think we all have, well, I can only speak on my behalf. I have stories that if I shared everything that I've been through in my life, people would be like, I can't believe God still uses you, because I would have gave up on you a long time ago, Shane. Long time ago. And I think that's the shocking part, is if people knew my story from when I was a kid, whatever, they'd be like, yeah, no. Like, if I was God, smudge, disintegrate this guy, right?
And this is where the whole once saved, always saved debate comes in, is that if I believe that, I have to like work my way to God to be saved, then yeah, he would have given up on me 20 years ago. According to your Muslim or
to
Catholic
your works
religion.
or whatever, yeah, according to what you believe, he should have given up on me a long time ago.
Yeah. But God, in his timing, he is slow to anger and abounding in love. There's mercy there. And I think it was Bible study with Derek where he's saying, do you want to be on the judgment side of God, or do you want to be on the mercy side of God? And I want to be on the mercy side of God. And I know that because he says, if you believe in me, you believe. And I just, if anyone's wondering, am I saved or not? Let me just tell you right now, 1 Corinthians 15, 1-4, Christ loves you. He died for you. And all you need to do is believe that he came, he died, he rose again, he's coming back, and that you are not perfect. You're a sinner, and you need to ask forgiveness for that. And you need to believe. And if you believe in Jesus and what he did for you, you are saved. Period. You're saved. I've oversimplified that, but you're saved, and you cannot be snatched out of his hands. So if you're thinking that, oh my gosh, I just did the Judas sin, if you are a child of God and you have called him Lord and Savior of your life, I'm not talking lordship salvation. I'm talking about, do you call him, is Jesus Christ your Lord? Have you given your life over to him and believe that he is who he says he is? If you believe, you're saved. You're saved. So at that point, you cannot be snatched out of his hands. So if you're worried that if you're going to miss the rapture or not, I'm sorry. Like, that's for believers. And if you believe, you will be snatched out of this world into God's hands. So I just want to encourage anyone who's wondering with those words, like, he loves you, and the oil prices can keep going up, but guess what? One thing else is going to go up. We're going to go up.
Yeah, I like that. And I like that you also shared about a scripture verse that Jesus said that he cares about all the birds. Not one sparrow will fall to the ground. That means something to me. And if we're talking about, even we talked about earlier about Shakespeare a little bit, how Shakespeare would end some of his plays, or how people would reenact Shakespeare plays. Sometimes some of the scripts didn't have an ending, so their hero would get into so much trouble that what they would use is a method called the hand of God would come in, and they would actually have other people come in and remove that main hero from whatever trauma that he was experiencing and remove him to the right side of the stage. And then the curtains would go down and everybody would clap. Oh man, that was a tough one. I don't know how the hero was going to get out of that. Thank God that a hand of God came in and removed that hero, right? So that's kind of, when they didn't know how to end it, that's how they would do it. It's more than a cliffhanger. They would just release the hero from that tension. The reason why I bring that up is people probably don't know this, but I actually, I want to say I raise black swan birds. Can you see this?
It looks black.
Okay, good. Okay, so watch this. Keep this in mind here. So look at this here. It's a little black swan bird here. See this? I just had it about a week ago. See that little black swan? Can you see that?
Yeah.
Or am I the one seeing it? Yeah.
I can see it.
And I put my hand down and he climbs onto it. Now, I call him a black swan. His name is Coconut. My grandson named him Coconut, but he's actually a chick. He's actually a chick. He's not a black swan, but I think of him like a black swan because he's black. So look, he just jumps into my little hand and he wants to be carried. It's a chick. Yep.
How are you?
He was probably like 3 days old in this picture.
The birdie. I think he likes to climb.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny. A little
Yep.
black swan.
And yeah, only a black swan would produce such rich content like this, right? What's funny is when my daughter would come home from work or whatever, and she'd come around the corner, I put a couple of these chicks on the floor, and I was just playing around with them. And when my daughter came around the corner, they ran into my arms. These two chicks. They ran into my arms, and it was like, oh man, that's so nice. There's the other one. That one's called Penguin. Again, named by my grandson, called Penguin. And there was two other ones. One was called Cookie, and the other one is called Eileen, because her leg wasn't so good, so we called her Eileen.
That's great.
Anyways, silly stuff, right? But I like birds now. I like them. I like them a lot. But I call that one a black swan.
He's like, how I wanted to like pull you together underneath my wings, but you rebelled. Like it's just interesting. We have chickens too. They're not the brightest birds in the world, but at first they're terrified of you, and then over time they're like,
yes,
hey, he gives me food. I like him.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah. No, it's something special. I never thought about birds too much, and then when you watch them hatch, I have footage of them hatching and everything, and I'm like, oh, this is so neat. And then when I held out my hand, the first couple of times they go away, and I'm like, oh, this thing's probably not going to like me at all or whatever. And then one day I just put my hand down in the cage in the bin, and it ran to my hand and it jumped into it. And I'm like, oh, that's so nice. Like that animals actually like people. Like it's weird, right? And they actually do like to hang around people and whatever. And birds are just fascinating. They're the first creatures created and all this kind of stuff, right? So it's kind of interesting.
And it's like animal husbandry is an important thing too. Like we had a bunch of chickens that we needed to get rid of, and it was like, well, how do we do this? But we released them into the wild, and we're not we're not gonna just not feed them whatever. We're still giving them a fighting chance. We release them into the wild and let them do their thing. But even the chickens that we have right now, like I'll go in there. It was like February. It's freezing cold. I'm trying to get water, and all they want is food. And they're flying over trying to jump my head, and I'm like, get off of me! And I'm getting mad at them, but I'm like, Andrew, they're chickens. They're chickens. Just
That's
take it
funny.
easy on them, and also I love them,
Yeah.
even though they're just animals, and who cares? Like, if you have a problem with how you treat your animals, it probably tells a little bit about yourself too. So, um, you know, careful how you treat animals, because the Bible actually does talk about that we should care for, and you don't have to love them, but just care for God's creation.
Yeah.
So if you have a problem with feeling like it's okay to kick a dog or something like that, you should probably ask yourself the question, Lord, is that something that's going on inside of me? Because you're
Yeah.
actually not doing what God said. You're not. I'm not an animal activist, but I think we need to obey what God says and care for His creation.
So you're not a environmentalist. You're not a you're an animal activist. What are you? No, just kidding.
What am I?
You know, have you ever remember? Do you remember watching that show? And this maybe you're too young for this, you young whippersnapper. Do you remember
What's
WKRP in Cincinnati?
Of course I
Do you
do.
remember that show? Herb?
Yeah,
You remember Herb? That used
I
to be
remember it
as a
well.
kid. That was my favorite show, and I used to do radio programs, and I'd pretend that I was these Johnny Fever and all this stuff with my little cassette player when I was like 8 years old. But there was one scene that I'll never forget, and because we're talking about some stuff, maybe it'll pop into your head. But Herb went into a helicopter over a school playground, and it was Thanksgiving. So they thought, why not release a bunch of turkeys out of this helicopter? And it'll be fantastic for everyone. It'll be like a big monumentous event. We can talk about it on the radio. Well, turkeys don't fly. So they dropped all these turkeys out of the helicopter, and it fell, and all these turkeys died in front of these children and traumatized them all. That was Herb. That's the kind of idiot that this guy was. But I thought, we're talking turkey. Like, really, we're talking turkey here today, right?
Well,
Anyway.
I'm going to correct you. I'm going to fact check you. Wild
Okay.
turkeys do fly,
Okay.
but
Not
that would be
domesticated
very
ones.
traumatic for me. That would be very
To see a bunch of turkeys.
Can you
These
imagine
turkeys did
being a
not.
kid?
Yeah,
Oh
they're
my
all
God.
devastated, right? So the PR was like horrible after that. They had to explain it, and yeah, it's bad.
That's crazy. Oh man. So, hey, I haven't seen what's his name? What's the guy with the little head that
Tweeter,
with the green? Yeah,
Tweeter
where's he been
trash.
lately? I haven't seen him
I don't know.
lately.
I actually invited him on the show today, and he hadn't responded. Let me see. Tweeter, where are you, Tweeter, man? I was hoping that he would jump on today. Nope.
Yeah, Mrs. Purple Hair.
Oh, I didn't send a link.
That could be it. I got it. I got the email. I
You
thought
got
I
it.
saw his name in there, but yeah. Well, yeah. This has been pretty fun so far today.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to jump out of here maybe in a few minutes, but
Yeah, for sure.
it was good talking a little bit about AI and chickens and oil and turkey and turkey. We talked
And
about
turkey. Yeah.
the country and the bird, so it
Yeah.
was a double turkey Tuesday, or was it Wednesday?
Yep.
Oh, what are we gonna
Yeah.
do this Tuesday?
Yeah. So what I'm trying to do is on Wednesdays now about this time is to just break it up a bit and talk a little bit about news. So usually I talk about just end times. I know we can't get away from end times, but I wanted to make it a little bit more news heavy. Talk about AI, all the stuff like midweek. And then on Sundays with my show, I usually have a huge list of panelists on there, and we talk about Matthew 24, Luke 21, Mark 13, whatever. Like we you know what you're getting on a Sunday night, and we just go around the table. But I wanted to mix it up a little bit. Midweek, you don't know what we're going to talk about. That's the important thing until you actually watch the show live, and then we go, oh, this is what this show is about. Interesting. Let's talk turkey.
Yeah,
Maybe that'll be my thumbnail. Let's talk turkey.
Let's talk
Might be
turkey.
kind of a fun way.
I think today we have talked about enough. I think probably about 5% of the show was focused on turkeys. So definitely we could be like AI turkeys and oil.
Wait till you see the thumbnail that I'm going to create.
Oh
Wait
my
till you
gosh.
see it. I need your permission.
Let
though.
AI go nuts on it.
Yeah, I
GPT,
will.
have fun.
Yeah. Have fun with this one. You go whatever direction you want. I won't stop you. Go nuts.
I am
But
wearing
yeah,
brown
thank you.
today, so maybe I look like a turkey. Blah, blah, blah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. We need to have a way of signing off. Maybe that's the way we do it.
no, I'm not
Maybe
giving
not.
you permission to doctor my head and make me look like a turkey. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay. Okay. I won't
So
do that.
yeah,
Nor myself.
no,
Nor myself. I'm just thinking about
no,
the
no.
title and the background and all that. Maybe I'll make the Black Swan. Usually it's a black swan. Maybe I'll make the black swan kind of look like a turkey or something.
So let me pull back. Let me pull back to the maybe before
Sure.
you got like a few minutes left. So this whole thing with what Trump's been doing lately, um, is this just is do you think he's just doing all this to fire oil prices up and down, like to create market activations? Because I know that whenever something goes up and down, like a lot of people make money in those movements, those market movements. So is it designed specifically for people who are playing the market in a really big way, who have inside information, to make good money off of it? Do you think that's part of it? Is part of it to make a lot of people poor by losing money in the market? Because a lot of people do lose money in those big movements in the market. And if you look at sort of a stock market ticker, just before it does a big movement, there's always this thing
Yeah.
called a Judas swing where it goes
Okay.
down and it knocks out all the positions below. And anyone who had money down there, it's gone. And then it fires back up. So I'm wondering,
Wow.
is this market manipulation or is there something else going on?
Yeah. It to me on the surface level, it feels like a bit of market manipulation, if I'm being honest, because there's a lot of people that are profiting from this. You think about the big companies and all that. All they have to do is really hold their position and they come out ahead. It's the people that, again, according to Warren Buffett, like if you believe in a business, if you believe in a company, why would you ever sell your shares? Why would you do that? So I think the people that panic and sell everything because they're like, oh man, I gotta have cash on hand. Then the next day it goes up because something resumes, peace talks resume, or whatever it is. The people that stayed in, it feels like they made like twice the income because they didn't panic. They just continued to work. They put their head down. And my advice to people, not that I'm a financial advisor, but whatever you invest in, walk away from it and just forget about it. And then come back in 30 years and see what it did. You might be shocked. You'll be like, oh my goodness, this thing quadrupled or whatever. All I had to do is leave all my Canadian bank stocks alone for like 20, 30 years and they would quadruple. You can just see it statistically. Like banks in Canada, they don't fail like in the US. They just don't. Like they'll never fail. And they're designed to make money. So like just look at your bank account. If you put $10 and you leave that $10 in your bank account for a year, it's not going to be there. Sorry. All the interest and all their little gotchas will eat that away. So who's making money? It's the banks. But again, if you're a savvy investor, I think you pick companies that you think are going to be around for another 100 years or so.
Mm.
Not many, but if you could have a crystal ball or whatever and go, I think this company is going to be around for 100 years, and put your money in that because you believe in the board and whatever they're doing, whatever direction they're going. That's how Warren did it. It's like, hey, I think railways are better than pipelines, and I'm not going to invest in tech because I believe in all this other stuff that's going on. And that's what he did. And so he stuck by it and whatever. Other people like to go into things that may not be here next year. I don't even know if Sam Altman or OpenAI will be around. And maybe there's another company that will just jump in and go, oh, hey, this is the new Google or whatever, right? And everybody's just gravitating towards that. That's why you need me, the Black Swan, to be around to make predictions like this.
Exactly. And like Sam Altman, someone had to take the hit and give away a whole bunch of free in order for it to go out there. So unfortunately, he was probably the first one to do it, and he'll probably be the first one to go. and everyone else who learned along the way is gonna profit. I'm sure Sam is gonna be okay. He'll be
Yeah,
okay.
I think he'll probably end up being the Antichrist. No, I'm sorry. Did I say that on my channel? The false prophet. Did I say that? Off the record. This should be called off the record.
Off the record. So 15 seconds left. Pope
Yes.
goes to Pope goes and does some Muslim stuff. What's going on there?
Well, you mean like making little agreements with Muslims and saying you guys aren't actually that bad? Whatever you've done, we've done worse, kind of idea.
Doing some little wasn't he joining some of their ceremonies over there in
he wasn't bowing down, was he? I thought I saw images of him kissing the carpet and that kind of like going down and doing their thing. I'm like, that's weird for a pope, isn't it? To be doing that kind of stuff.
Interesting. And I'm also wondering because, some people say that, getting an American pope in there was part of, the whole idea to how do we deal with Trump? Well, we got to put an American pope in order to deal with that. So I'm wondering if that was also maneuvering from them against, against what Trump's doing. So I just sort of interesting. I'm not trying to be Catholic or Protestant or whatever. I'm just saying it's interesting how these figureheads play with.
Do you ever take people like you have a chessboard? Like I'll do this. I'll say, put this person on the shelf, like as a person of interest. Like I did that with Zelensky. I'm like, this guy does stuff that feels like shades of an Antichrist move. Don't know what it is. I'm just going to put him on the shelf because he was playing the piano with his little ding dong a while ago as a comedian. And then he wrote a script to become the government of the people or whatever. And then they decided to elect him as president, all because of his media presence. And he should have been just a comedian. That's it. But he became a political leader and all this kind of stuff. So I'm like, you know what? It's kind of interesting. I'm going to put that on the shelf. Trump is making images and his people are making images to make him look like a savior, Antichrist-like, whatever. I'm going to take Trump and I'm going to put him on the shelf. Elon Musk said this. I'm going to put him. Like my shelf is getting full, my friend. It is getting full of players that could be the Antichrist or the false prophet. It's crazy, man.
Do you actually have this shelf?
Yeah, it's right there. All these idols and images. No, I don't. But in my head, I put them on a shelf.
If you could order. Now, here's a marketing thing. You could sell little state head mini figurines to people and call them Black Swan Antichrist potential, or just like you could sell them, and then so people could collect them like little Lego men. So then, there you go.
When is the Black Swan predict? I like it. I should get a laser printer. I'll get a laser printer and I'll just print out these little icons or whatever and we'll be like, hey, here's this week. I think this guy could be a player. Put him on the chessboard.
Like in a comic store where you can see those they're like little metallic ones and
superheroes and all that. Yeah.
I'm just saying it could be like a new line of Black Swan, potential antichrists. I'm just saying, not bobbleheads. That's just too much. We're not going to do like Antichrist.
Oh, no bobbleheads. That's actually not a bad idea either. It's just having. That's funny, man. That's actually something I would do. Is here's an Antichrist. It looks like Trump, but it's not Trump, guys. It's not Trump. It just looks like him. I'd probably get people writing into me every day. You can't make Trump into a bobblehead, but you're okay with me saying Antichrist? Yeah, but not bobblehead Antichrist.
Not the bobblehead. Wrong. That's sacrilegious. Let's please
that's sacrilegious. Yeah. I know. Anyways, before we get into trouble, I should probably end the show before I get banished for life. But thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate you, Andrew. We'll have to do it again. Yeah, awesome. Thank you for popping in. Have a fantastic week. I'll see you later. Ciao.
You don't see it coming. is known. One silent shift shatters what you know. Like Swan. You won't see color. Like Swan. The shift is already moving. This is Black Swan Revelations.